Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
Oh, it's our TLC unit, which is so fun, which means we're going to be talking about a television show that is currently on TV on the TLC channel. And this one's kind of fun. I was telling Tom I had seen one of the actors talking about possibly making a show about wine and wine tasting, and he's one of my favorite actors. I will admit, I have a crush on him. He's very handsome. He's British, and so is his friend Matthew Rhys. The guy that I really like is Matthew Good. You'll recognize them if you tune in. And Matthew Rhys, he's from the UK, but he's actually Welsh. So,
okay.
He's from Wales. Anyway, they're good friends, and they kind of sit around drinking wine, and they invite other wine experts on to talk about wine. Do you like to drink wine, Tom?
Sure. I don't go out and buy it, but if I've gone to somebody's dinner party and they serve wine, I certainly enjoy a glass or two. It's kind of fun. I tend to like dry wine. I don't like it if it's too sweet.
So is that white wine you like if it's dry?
I guess I prefer rosé or red
like
wine.
Red, yeah.
White wine is fine. I don't really prefer one over the other, but I'm not a big expert on wine, you know. The only thing I know is that I just don't like sweet wine. If it's too sweet, I don't like it. So it's got to be dry for me. But in any case, like I said, I'm not an expert here, but I guess these two Matthews are experts in wine, and they're going to Italy to sample the wine there. And this is a show on TLC called The Wine Show. Simple enough, they're a show about wine. So that's what the show is all about. And if you like wine and you want to learn more about wine, this is the show for you. So let's get to it. Let's read the entire contents of our lesson right now.
Nothing compliments a nice dinner better than a glass of wine. The task of choosing a great wine can be an intimidating one, though, especially for those who don't know anything about it. Luckily, TLC's The Wine Show is here to help. Actors Matthew Good and Matthew Rhys team up with some wine experts to learn more about the world's best wines and the people and stories behind them. The two Matthews are making their way through Italy, one bottle of wine at a time. Their task is to locate 12 wines that perfectly encapsulate Italy's history, culture, and local charm. To find them, they're heading to well-known wine regions, where they'll meet local farmers and others from the communities. In one episode, they're in search of a bottle of wine that represents the spirit of Italy's noble families in Montepulciano. This small town has been producing some of Italy's best wines since the 8th century. In fact, the town's wines are so well respected in Italy that they're called Vino Nobile or noble wines. Wine expert Arnaldo Rossi greets the men in Montepulciano and offers them a selection of wines to choose from. Matthew Rhys takes a liking to Boscarelle, a dry wine made from old vines. Matthew Good, on the other hand, prefers Sanguineto. The grapes in this wine grow on land where Roman armies once fought battles. Could this ancient connection to the land make Sanguineto the wine they're looking for? In order to find out, they take the two wines to Joe Fattorini, the wine show's resident wine expert. After tasting them both, Joe's choice is indeed the Sanguineto, and the men are able to cross their first wine off the list.
All right, let's get to it. Let's discuss the contents of today's lesson. We've got the wine show, which is airing on TLC, and it's hosted by these two guys, Matthew Good and Matthew Reese. Okay, so they're getting together and trying different wines in Italy. And as you know, of course, when we think about wine, we usually think about France and Italy. Of course, wine is produced in different parts of the world as well, in the United States, in Australia, in Chile, in South Africa, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But usually people think, hey, you know, you got to have European wine to really taste good wine, especially if it's in France or Italy. So we're going to be wined and dined by the wine show. This phrase, wined and dined, that means that you're basically going to have a good meal, basically. And sometimes it means that somebody is hosting you. Hey, I'm going to wine and dine you tonight. Come on over. We'll have some great wine and some great food, and you'll be really happy. So you will probably feel the same way if you watch this program and try some of the wines that these two Matthews try.
Okay, we've got this vocabulary word in the first sentence, which sounds very much like when someone says they like something that you own or that you have on. They're complimenting you. It's pronounced the same way, guys, but notice it's spelled differently. It's got an E instead of an I in the middle of it. To compliment, this compliment does not mean the same thing. It just means something that goes together very well with something else. They're a good match, you could say. So nothing matches or complements a nice dinner better than a glass of wine. So if you have a really nice dinner, what would make it perfect? The best glass of wine you could find. So nothing complements or makes a nice dinner even better than a glass of wine. You could say peanut butter complements honey. When you're making a good sandwich for kids, peanut butter and honey, they complement each other.
I've never tried that. Sounds kind of weird
to really?
me.
Oh, I grew up with that. Peanut butter and honey.
Peanut butter jelly in our house.
Oh, both.
Never honey, but...
Both. And also, ladies, you could say, oh, the color of that skirt really complements the blouse that you're wearing. So those colors go together well. They match.
Or if you're eating in the night market, a little bit of pickled cabbage will complement your serving of cho tofu. I've seen people have their cho tofu with some pickled cabbage. I don't like cho tofu, so I'm not sure if that helps it or not. But in any case here, if you're having a nice dinner, you want to complement that dinner with a nice glass of wine. And the task of choosing a great wine can be an intimidating one, though, especially for those who don't know anything about it. So the task or the challenge of choosing a wine to go with your dinner can be intimidating. So that's one of our vocabulary words here, to intimidate. It just means it's kind of scary because you don't know anything about it. If you're like only 5'4" or something and you walk into a room and there's a guy standing there who's 6'10", you might feel intimidated by that person. You might feel kind of scared, or you might feel frightened, but you never know, that guy might turn out to be a really nice fella.
Yeah, choosing a great wine can be tough if you don't know anything about wines. And of course, people will judge you based on how good you are at picking out a wine. So luckily, we've got this show on TLC that you can tune into and get some tips that way. It's called The Wine Show, and it's here to help. We've got actors Matthew Good and Matthew Reese, who team up with some wine experts to learn more about the world's best wines and the people and stories behind them. If you team up with somebody, of course, you're working together with them to accomplish something. Maybe you team up with some classmates to finish a school project, or maybe you team up with a friend to open a new company. These guys are teaming up together with some wine experts, people who really do know something about wine, to kind of take us on a tour around Italy and learn about the world's best wines. And, of course, the interesting people and stories behind them. These two Matthews are making their way through Italy one bottle of wine at a time. I'm sure they have plenty of opportunities to get drunk.
Yep, one bottle of wine at a time. Okay, we can often say that about life in general. Gee, I'm so nervous. I'm worrying about my exams, and my family are having all sorts of problems, and I'm not making enough money. And someone might say, well, don't worry about it. Just take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
Just live your life one day at a time. Don't worry about the future too much, and don't regret the past. Just live in the moment. Live one day at a time. So here they're enjoying Italy one bottle of wine at a time. They enjoy that one bottle for however long it takes to drink that bottle of wine, and then the next day or the next meal, they'll try something else.
Their task is to locate 12 wines that perfectly encapsulate Italy's history, culture, and local charm. So they do have a task that they want to achieve before the end of their show. And they've got to locate or find 12 wines that really perfectly kind of encapsulate. What is a good synonym for that word that kind of encapsulate, that kind
captures
of
the essence of something?
Sums up, you know.
Represents.
Represents is a good word, yeah. So it's like someone who's picked these 12 wines that represent the best parts of Italy's history, the culture, and the local charm. If you've been to Italy or watched shows about Italy on TV, you know that some of those little cities, they just seem so charming. They have this wonderful quality about them that delights people. People can be charming. If they're attractive, they have a great personality that draws people to them. You could call them charming. But cities and even events that you go to can have a charm or have a charm to them.
A special attraction, a special feeling of delight when you experience that thing. So, yeah, they're looking for some wines that will give them a sort of experience. When they drink it, they'll drink it and they'll go, oh, this is Italy. I really feel like I'm in Italy right now. Just like maybe you might drink a cup of fine oolong tea. Oh, this encapsulates Taiwan. I feel like I'm right there in the middle of Nantou. So that's what they're trying to do here. Find those wines that perfectly represent or encapsulate the charm, the culture, and the history of Italia. Okay, that brings us to the midway point in today's lesson. Let's take a break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. 今天我们要看的是第16单元。好，今天的节目内容，我们要来看看有一个电视节目，这个节目很有趣，谈的是美酒 The Wine Show， 我们中文翻成美酒追緝令。好，既然是谈酒，大家想想，如果吃一顿晚餐，当然有一杯红酒，那真是再好也不过了。所以第一句的开头就说 Nothing complements a nice dinner better than a glass of wine。 我们知道这个说法说 Nothing better than， 没有什么比这个更好，当然意思就是这就是一个最好的享受。好，我们继续往下看。当然这样说起来，选择好的葡萄酒那很重要，可是这也是一个 intimidating one， 这个任务可是非同小可，也蛮令人生畏的。好，那我们就来看看为什么这么说。这个节目的重点就是要帮大家找好的红酒。好，这个节目在 TLC 的旅游生活频道上，我们看这个节目的内容里面有2位主角，他们其实是演员，还有他们还找了葡萄酒专家一起来帮大家找好的红酒。 Team up with， 注意到这个片语就表示与谁一起合作。再来，下面就说到这2位主角2位主持人，他们在意大利，然后呢品味美酒，那他们想要找到12瓶完美的能够概括意大利的历史文化还有当地魅力的葡萄酒。好，这里有一个字我们比较少用，就是 encapsulate， 这个字就是概括囊括。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about the show on TLC called The Wine Show, which is pretty simple in terms of having a name for this show. I want to see it because of the actors that are on it, Matthew Good and Matthew Rhys. I like both of them and I think they're fun. Well, they're going to just make their way through Italy, drinking wine as they go. They do have a task that they want to achieve. They want to locate or find 12 wines that are just perfectly encapsulate Italy's history, culture, the charm. They just want to find the 12 best wines they can. So to find them, they're heading to well-known wine regions where they'll meet local farmers and others from the communities. So they're going to meet a lot of locals. That's kind of fun. Remember, these two gentlemen are British. One is actually English and one is actually Welsh or from Wales. Now, we've got an episode here that our writer wrote about. An episode just refers to one time the show is seen on TV. So if you've got a show, usually there are 8 to 20 episodes for that season. This probably has maybe 6 or 8 episodes. I'm not sure, but each episode of this show is probably an hour long, and you follow the people that are in that particular program. In this one, our guys are in search of a bottle of wine that represents the spirit of Italy's noble families in Montepulciano. I hope I said that right. If you're a noble family, here, it doesn't mean that they have a lot of courage or wisdom or, like that, or a soldier can often be noble. Here it means they actually belong to a higher class. They were born into a family that is aristocratic, so they're kind of part of royalty, you could say. Back in the day, the ones who owned land had a lot more money than everybody else, and they were part of the noble families or part of nobility, you could say. If you've heard of terms like, Duke, Duchess, Marquis, Marquez, those are terms we use for people who are in a higher social class than the rest of us. Of course, in America, we don't have this. But in Europe, there's a lot of nobility or noble families.
Yep, especially in France or, in this case, Italy. And they're going to a small town called Montepulciano. I hope I said that right. And they're looking for the spirit of the noble families there. Now, this small town has been producing some of Italy's best wines since the 8th century.
Wow.
So back to the 700s there, they've been producing really great wine there, and it has been a tradition for many centuries. In fact, the town's wines are so well respected in Italy that they're called Vino Nobile, or Nobile. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce this. I don't speak
Probably
Italian.
Nobile.
Nobile? Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good to me. But the English translation of that is noble wines. So indeed, they are respected in Italy. Of course, if you ask people in Italy about Montepulciano, they go, oh, that's the home of the noble wine in Italy. We all love it so much.
Probably. So that's one of the places they're going to. We've got wine expert Arnaldo Rossi. So he's an Italian gentleman, and he greets the men in Montepulciano and offers them a selection of wines to choose from. Oh, aren't these guys having a good time? So Matthew Rhys, he takes a liking to a wine called Boscarelli. It's a dry wine made from old vines. If you take a liking to something or somebody, it can be a person or a thing or a place. Just means you really kind of like it. Take a liking to. It's usually used when you're just meeting something or going somewhere for the first time, and it doesn't take long before you think, oh, I kind of like that guy, or I kind of like this place. Oh, I like this restaurant. So you can take a liking to. Your pets can often take a liking to different people in your family. Take a liking to. Here, he's actually really quite enjoying this dry wine made from old vines.
Vine, of course, is where grapes grow, and oftentimes they put them up on certain kinds of scaffolding or something like that, so they grow better. And so he takes a liking to this kind of wine. It's a dry wine. Usually dry wine just refers to wine that is not sweet. That's the kind of wine I prefer. I hate sweet wine. It makes me sick. But in any case here...
See, for me, it would just taste like grape juice.
Yeah, that's why I don't like it.
Yeah, well, I don't
drink
wine, so I think, I think I'd like the sweet. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe you would,
I don't drink wine, but...
To each their own.
There you go.
Some people like it sweet, some people like it dry, but Boscarelli, that's a dry wine made from vines that are really old. Maybe they are hundreds of years old, just like some trees can grow to be hundreds, if not thousands of years. And Matthew Good, on the other hand, prefers Sanguinetto. I hope I said that right. Sanguinetto, okay. That's another kind of wine here. And the grapes in this wine grow on land where Roman armies once fought battles. Okay, so my goodness, the Romans, of course, were based in Italy back in the day. So, of course, they probably had some battles there in this part of the town there. And so the grapes grow there, and maybe some of the soldiers' blood is in the soil or something, and it gives the vines a special kind of flavor or something.
Gross.
Who knows? But in any case, I did want to mention this. We should have mentioned this before.
Yeah.
But wine is specifically an alcoholic beverage made from grapes. Not counting cognac, okay, that's different, but wine is made from grapes. So the Chinese character Zhou is often translated as wine, but that's kind of incorrect because wine refers specifically to this kind of alcoholic drink. You can't call vodka a kind of wine, for example.
No, that's a hard liquor. Yeah. That's interesting. So, could this ancient connection to the land make Sanguinetto the wine they're looking for? Remember, they're still trying to complete their task of choosing 12 wines, which really represent Italy, Italy's history, culture, and charm. So when you're talking about a connection to something, it's something that puts two things together. It's a relationship, perhaps, something that links them together. Maybe it's a person, a thing, an idea that's associated with something else. Could this ancient association with the land, you could say that, or this ancient link to the land. You could use that as well. Here our vocabulary word, though, is connection. Hey, what's your connection with him? How do you know this guy? Or what's your connection with this company? You could use it that way. So they're wondering maybe this ancient connection to the land makes this wine that Matthew Good chooses to perhaps be the wine that's going to be one they pick as one of the 12.
I should mention the word connection is often used in travel. If you're flying someplace, you might have a connection in Hong Kong, for example, where you have to change planes.
Or they'll say connecting flight. I have a connecting flight.
You can say that as well. So yes, indeed, they're looking for this connection or this relationship to the land. Is that the wine they're looking for? Well, in order to find out, so that they can find out, they take the two wines to Joe Fattorini, the wine show's resident wine expert. So these are wines here, kinds of wine that they take to Mr. Fattorini, and he's the wine expert on the show, the resident expert. Resident just refers to somebody who's living in a specific place, but basically this just means he's the person on the show that is the expert. Nobody knows more about wine than he does.
He's the guy, so resident wine expert. He's probably the big wine expert that they turn to most frequently on the show. So after tasting both of them, Joe picks Sanguinetto. That's Matthew Good's wine, and the men are able to cross their first wine off the list. If you cross something off a list, guys, it just means you've completed some sort of task, or maybe you're in the shopping mall or supermarket. You have a list of things you want to buy. As you pick them up, you cross that item off your list, meaning you've achieved what you wanted with this. So cross their first wine off the list. It means they've got 1 out of 12. It's time to listen to our Chinese teacher before we wrap this up.
我们继续往下看。 这边说到这两位主持人到了意大利，好，他们要找美酒，找好的葡萄酒 to find them。 好， to 当然就代表 in order to， 为了什么目的呢？要找到这些酒，他们就出发到这个地方很有名，他们呢，跟当地的农夫碰面，然后呢，和社区的其他人碰了面之后，要一起来赏葡萄酒。这一边要注意一个文法，句子当中有一个逗点，再加 where。 好，我们晓得当你用逗点隔开，后面有一个像关系副词 where， 那就表示后面这句话这是一个非限定用法的关系子句。好，表明地点在哪里，就是这个 well-known wine regions， 有名的葡萄酒产地。好，接下来我们看到下面就说到了这个地方的人哦，他们本来就是在生产意大利最好的酒，而且这个地方的酒可以说在意大利备受推崇。Well respected, so well respected in Italy that blah blah blah。 好，我们知道 well respected 就是备受敬重，备受推崇，但是前面的 so 再加上后面的 that， 表示是这么样受到推崇，以至于他们这里的酒的名字就说他们是 noble wines， 翻译成为贵族的葡萄酒。那我们就来看看这是怎么一回事。这边他请来一位专家，这个专家呢，他也提供他们好几种的葡萄酒，然后一起来品尝。那两位主持人喜欢的不太一样。好，这边有一个片语，喜欢 takes a liking to。喜欢什么东西？这个 to 可是个介系词哦，所以后面加的是名词。要真的有动作的话，也会是 VING。好，一个喜欢一种，另外一个喜欢另一种，那到底哪一种酒会真的能代表意大利的文化？这两种酒到底哪一个是他们喜欢的，真正要找的酒呢？好，专家的评定是第二位主持人所喜欢的这个酒，那这个酒被认同了，所以我们看专家的话果然就不一样哦。这个地方还要注意到 after taste them both， 两个都品尝过。好，我们注意到 after， 其实 after 它应该说起来，我们比较习惯把它当作介系词来用，它的确也可以当连接词。如果你要讲一个时间的前后顺序， after 当作连接词。好，我们今天的讲解就到这边结束，我们下次再继续。
That brings us to the end of our program for today. Thank you so much for joining us. And hey, don't drink too much wine. If you're drinking wine, do not drive. We will punish you severely if you do that. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.